It was 2 a.m. and I was editing my last video for YouTube when I see the police escorting a young woman from my apartment's premises. I was sitting on the balcony. About 5 minutes later, I hear, "Excuse me." It's her, kicked out at 2 a.m. Caution. This video contains real and raw discussions of domestic violence. If this topic is sensitive for you, please take care of yourself first. It's okay to step away and come back when you're ready. You are safe here. Hey, boos. Welcome back. It's your girl, Kanisha Lorraine. And if you're new here, welcome to my channel. My channel is about thriving, evolution, and truth. My truth. So sit back and relax and enjoy this next episode. If you have not watched my last video, go back and watch it. This story that I'll be telling today is not about me. It's an experience I had by proxy. A couple weeks ago, I was sitting on my balcony at 2 a.m. minding my business. And those who know me know that I'm a night owl. So I like to get a lot of work done in the middle of the night. There are less distractions. People typically aren't up. So I'm able to get a lot done. So I was editing my last video, the one where I was or should I say, all my things were placed in trash bags. And again, if you have not seen that video, go back and watch it. Okay, I'll have the video link in the description. So I'm sitting on my balcony. It's 2 a.m. It's really about 1:30, and I hear commotion, but I was again working, so I was laser focused. I wound up pausing. I think I was watching a YouTube video at the time while I was editing. And so I paused it because I'm like, is somebody arguing? And I heard a male's voice. And then I didn't hear it anymore. So I was like, whatever, maybe I'm tripping. I said, let me take a break because I had been sitting for a minute. So I stood up to stretch my legs and just kind of like get the blood circulating through my body. And when I look over the balcony, I see a police unit. I said, damn, the police here? Hmm. Well, that's not unusual because I live in a big ass apartment complex. I believe there are about 600 units here. So there are a lot of people who live here, and it's not unusual to see the police here sometime. So I'm like, damn, 1 something in the morning. Okay, whatever. Next thing I know, I see an officer escorting this young woman out of the complex. So I'm like, didn't really pay it no mind. Now, allow me to back up a little bit. Earlier that day, let me back up a little more. The day prior, where my unit sits, it's on a busy street, kind of like a busy residential street, if you will. Again, it's a large complex, so there's a lot of traffic that comes to and fro. So I'm standing on the balcony talking to my partner, and I see this couple walking down the street, and the guy is walking so far ahead of this woman, and I'd say about a good 8 to 10 feet. And so I'd say to my partner, like, that's crazy, that he's walking that far ahead of her. And I see it a lot in a different form, though, not specifically walking ahead, but where a couple is walking down the street or a male and female are walking down the street, and the man is on the inside of the sidewalk and the woman's on the outside of the sidewalk. And it just grinds my gears when I see that, because where's the chivalry? They say chivalry is dead. And I see it, so it has to be. And so when I see them walking down the street and he's a good several feet ahead of her, I mentioned that to my partner. So he stops walking and turns around in a state of irritation. And so she had stopped. She was fumbling with her belongings, or I think her phone or something. And so he's like, come on, and I just kind of beamed in on that. So the next day, I see this very same couple and they're walking, we're passing each other in the hall on the floor that we both live on. I've never, other than the day prior, I've never seen them before. So we're passing each other and I kind of zoom in on her, and she's got on this like a burgundy dress, and it's like a mini dress, super cute, and her hair is down, and she just looks so pretty. So I'm like, as I'm passing them, I said, "You look so pretty." And she spoke to me first, very jovial, "Hi." And I said, "Hi." I said, "You look so pretty." And she's like, "Oh, thank you. So do you." Now, y'all had on a tank dress. I wasn't even dressed. Hair had done nothing to, I'm just do something on to go to the store right quick. So I'm like, "Okay, thank you, whatever." Get to my unit. And I remember turning back and looking at them, and they're holding hands, and everything seems to be hunky dory. Now, mind you, this is the same couple I saw the day prior, where the man was walking feet ahead of her. Time goes on. As I mentioned, the day goes, and it's 1, 2 in the morning. I'm sitting on the balcony editing. Fast forwarding back to seeing the police officer walk this young lady off the apartment premises. I'm like, okay, it didn't dawn on me it was the same woman I'd seen earlier that day or even the day before. It didn't even dawn on me. It's late. I just looked and went on about my business. Because one thing I'm gonna do is mind my business. I see stuff, but I mind my business for the most part, unless we'll get into that. So I'm like, okay, whatever. So I'm sitting on the balcony and I have one of my floor lamps outside because the whole house was asleep and I didn't want to have, any lights on inside. So I brought the floor lamp outside so I can continue working. About 5 minutes later, I hear, "Excuse me." And so I'm like, "Excuse me." So I look over the balcony, and I stay on the third floor, mind you. Look over the balcony, and I see the same young woman that was escorted off the apartment's premises. So I'm like, "Yes." And she's like, "I'm so sorry." And she just starts bawling. And she's like, "Do you have an iPhone charger? My phone's dead. And my boyfriend just kicked me out." I go get her, bring her upstairs. She's in shambles. She's crying. She's, frazzled. So I'm talking to her and I'm like, "What happened?" And so she's going in about how the day started, and she's the one who made me realize we saw each other earlier that day. She's like, "Oh my God, I saw you walking in the hall and you told me I was pretty." I was like, "Oh." I said, "That was you," because she looked different. Clearly, she's in shambles. Her hair was different. Her attire was different. I just didn't even put it together at the time. And so we're walking down the hall after I get her from downstairs, and we're walking down the hall. She's telling me everything that happened, how everything started and ended. And so I said, "Okay." I said, "Now she's visiting from NorCal, Northern California, Redding to be specific." And so I'm like, "That's a long ways away." So she's like, "I'm in my rental car, but she said the police advised me to sleep in the car." And I'm like, "What?" Now where I live, it's not specifically downtown LA, it's Koreatown. So there are a lot of sketchy people around here sometimes. So I'm like, just sleeping in a car on this main street, that's out. And you're not even familiar with the area. So I'm like, okay. So she's like, I asked her what floor he lived on, and she says the third floor. So now my plan of having her sitting outside of my unit to charge her phone has changed. Now I have to make a decision for both of our safety, not just hers, but also mine, because the outlets are right outside of our unit. So I'm like, okay, my partner's in the house, she's asleep. Um, Mind you, at this point, it's 2 in the morning. So she's asleep. I didn't have my kids that week. And so I'm like, look, we get to my unit. I said, I don't feel comfortable with you sitting outside of my unit if your boyfriend lives on the same floor. I don't know which building he lives in, but when I saw them earlier that day, I saw the direction they were coming from. So I'm guessing he might live either toward the end of the hall or in the next building over. But at any point, he could come out and see her probably. So I'm like, I don't want to risk that. So I said, I'm going to invite you into my dwelling. I said, my partner's here. She's asleep. Just go straight to the balcony. And the way our units are, they're like shotgun. So you can see straight to the balcony from the front door. So she's appreciative. She's thanking me for allowing her to come in. So she uses the restroom and we plug her phone up, right? Bring the extension cord out, plug her phone up, let's go. Good to go. So she continues to tell me about her experiences since she's been down visiting him. She specifically came down to visit him. And the whole time, there have just been aggressions that have happened throughout her stay. So, one was she was telling me how they had gotten into a disagreement, an argument, and he told her to sleep on the couch. Okay. So she grabs a blanket to go snuggle up on the couch, and he comes and snatches it off of her. Like, now that's happened to me as well. My ex husband has done the same thing to me. Okay. So I'm like, okay, that's not all right. That's out. She's giving me another example of how, he doesn't know the sidewalk rule. Back to what I was talking about earlier, where the man walks on the outside closest to the curb. And so she's telling me how she mentioned it to him. She's 27 and he's 30. Not a huge age gap, but enough for him to feel like he's superior and in control. And so when she mentioned it to him, he got upset. So he's like, you know, what's the sidewalk rule? And she's like, babe, you don't know the sidewalk rule? And she explains it to him, and he gets upset off of that. And I guess he felt like she was criticizing him. And so that became a thing. And then another day she said she had on like a halter top or something, and she asked him to tie it for her, but tie it tight enough to where, it doesn't get loose. Y'all know how it is, women. And so she's like, tie it tight. And so she said he tied it so tight that it hurt. And I know exactly what she's talking about. I've tied my halter too tight, and it kind of like gives a burn, like almost like a rug burn, if you will. But to intentionally tie something extremely tight like that, it hurt her. So she expressed that to him, like, babe, you hurt me. And so he's like, well, you told me to tie it tight. And the way she's expressing the way he was speaking to her, he had all the attitude in the world, just real nasty. And so she says, well, you hurt me, can you apologize? And he's like, sorry. So I said, not him mocking you, girl. Just all that's out. And mind you, I had never seen them before other than the day before. Even her boyfriend, maybe he just moved in. I don't know. But again, our complex is so huge, you just don't know all your neighbors. And so I'm just like, okay, that's crazy that he mocked you like that. I asked her, I said, well, girl, how long y'all been together? And she said, 3 months and you stay up north. So we're talking about technically a long term relationship because Redding is about 5 hours from SoCal. That's Northern California. That's the top part of the state. We stay in the bottom part of the state. So I'm like, okay, 3 months. So how'd y'all meet? And so typical shit. He slid in my DMs, like, okay. So he pursued you. All right, he pursued you. But the whole time she's been here, he hasn't shown any interest. I mean, he's just been very nasty to her. So I just tell her blatantly. I said, girl, he don't like you. He does not like you. So she thought when I said that, because I'm like, a lot of men don't like women. That's just what it is. Like men like the benefit of men of women and what we can bring to them or give them, how they benefit. Typically a lot of men are looking for another mother, a mother. They're looking for another mother. So I said, girl, he don't like you. And so then she jumps off into, oh, I kind of think he might be gay. And I was like, well, that's not what I meant. I didn't mean that because there are a lot of gay men who love women, but that's not their cup of tea. So I said, well, girl, I didn't mean it that way. I just meant it in a sense of, he just doesn't care for you. He cares about what you can give him. And, you know, typically that's what's between your legs. And for her, she was on her cycle when she came down, so I'm sure sex was limited. I didn't jump off into that, but it was probably limited. Even if they did have sex, it's probably limited. So, sometimes men have a way of uh, lashing out when they can't get it. So that was why my ex pulled the covers off of me because I was denying him sex and he got upset and he said he was about to go sleep on the couch. And I'm like, okay, whatever. And I got all cozy in the bed. That nigga didn't like that shit and snatched all them covers off of me. And oof, I just thank you, Lord, for it. Thank you, Jesus, for keeping my temper at bay. Hey, Booze, real quick. As you know, I've survived domestic violence twice, and I built something for the woman still trying to figure it all out. The Escape and Rebuild Kit gives you the stats, the signs, and the journal prompts to help you rebuild your life. Click the link in the description and get your copy today. So I'm asking her, I said, well, now what led to him kicking you out at 2 a.m.? Because that's crazy to me. And so she was saying when they came back from wherever they went, when I saw them leaving earlier that day, she gave him a hug. And as she was hugging him, her arm knocked his earring off or the back of the earring off. And so she's like, he got upset and was like, pick it up real aggressively. I don't know where they were. I'm not sure if they were outside, excuse me, if they were in his apartment or what. But wherever you drop an earring back, those of you who have your ears pierced and have worn studs, you know those backs are hard to find. It don't matter what time of day it is or night. They're hard to find. So it'll behoove you to have extra earring backs. So he got upset. He makes her, literally, makes her look for the back of the earring. And she couldn't find it. Who can? That's something you stumble across. Oh, here's that back I lost 2 weeks ago. You don't typically just find an earring back that easily. So he gets pissed. He's making her look for the back to this earring. And so she says she made a joke like, damn, like go get some new ones. What's the big deal? And he got pissed off. So he's throwing shit at her. It just sends him into this frenzy. And I'm like, are you that cheap? You can't buy another earring back, or is it the principal? always the principle for people. He's throwing shit at her. And I'm like, girl, that's intimate partner violence. And so I asked her, I said, has he ever hit you? And she says no, but at the rate they're going, it's coming. She says he's throwing things at her. Then he tells her to get out. Oh, he threw her phone at her. And she said it hit her in the head. And she has a head full of hair, so I couldn't see any bruises or anything. And she pointed like behind her hairline. So I didn't see anything. Her hair was in a ponytail. But he threw her phone at her head. Now, mind you, she's at my place because her phone was dead and she needed to charge her phone, right? She's telling me how he threw this phone at her head and then he commences to kick her out his apartment. Mind you, it's 2 a.m. So as he kicks her out, he like throws her out, throws her shit out, closes the door. And then she said he kept coming to the door and throwing more shit out. Mind you, she was on her cycle. Sometimes women do use separate trash bags to throw those sanitary napkins out. And her ideology was, especially because he's a man, he might not take the trash out right away. So she's like, I didn't want it just sitting in the trash can. So I'm like, that makes sense. So she had a different bag for, I guess, her daily usage. And he threw that out at her in the hallway as well. Our complex is indoors. So it's not like, I mean, regardless, all the commotion is out of pocket anyway, especially at 1 and 2 in the morning. So he's throwing all these things out. She's trying to get back in. He's not letting her in. So she's like, I'm going to call the police. So she calls the police. Police comes and he never opens the door. They're knocking on the door. He never opens the door. So he just lets her be. As we're talking on the balcony, she periodically checks her phone. And we notice it wasn't charging. It was continuously showing the blinking red battery signal with no lightning bolt that indicates the phone being charged. So I'm telling her, like, girl, your phone's not charging. And I know my charger works. I literally was just using it. And so we kept unplugging it and replugging it, and it just wasn't charging. So we're sitting on the balcony talking. She tells me she's supposed to catch a flight back home later in the morning. And so she's talking about how she has nowhere to stay and all this stuff. And again, the police advised her to sleep in her car. So I tell her, I said, hey, your phone's not charging. It's clearly broken. So I can't offer you a place to stay, but there is a vacant parking space downstairs that's in the same spot, so to speak. We have tandem parking. So we didn't have any assigned parking to the spaces behind us. So I'm like, hey, that's the best I can do is offer you one of those spaces. At least you'll be covered in the garage and you don't have to worry about being on the streets with all the crazies. We have security walking around, so it'd be safe-ish. So she agrees to that. Um, I get her a blanket and I tell her, I said, girl, you're gonna have to give me my blanket back because my mom gave it to me and it's one of those darter blankets she ordered from her favorite place in the whole wide world, Amazon. I swear Amazon has made all of its money from my mother. But anyway, I give her this blanket. We go downstairs. Mind you, her phone is broken. So she can't make any calls. Not only is it broken, it's dead and it's not charging. I moved my car, my partner's car, so she can have access to the vacant parking spot. So I give her the blanket and I tell her, I get up early. I'll see you in the morning. The next morning, I'm standing outside on my balcony talking to my partner. I'm like, girl, you would not guess what happened last night. So I'm catching her up on everything. As we're talking, I see this car go by and it I didn't pay it any mind. Then I noticed the passenger waving. So I'm like, hi. I don't know who it is. The window rolls down and it's her in the passenger seat. So off top, I said, oh, I see what's going on here. And so she rolls the window down. She's like, thank you again for last night. I truly appreciate it. Now, at this point, it's probably about 10 a.m., 10:30 or so. And so I said, you're welcome. She said, I left your blanket on your car. So I was like, okay. So my partner was about to leave to go out for the day. And so I said, babe, I'll walk you down so I can get my blanket. And then also, I didn't know if they were going to try to park back in that same parking spot. So we go downstairs and they're not parked in our parking spot. So as we're down there and my partner and I are continuing to discuss the events that happened hours before, I see her walking up and she's walking up with the guy. And so she's like, thank you again. She's so appreciative. I mean, she said, can I give you a hug? I said, of course. So I gave her a hug and I said, how are you feeling? And she said, I'm okay. We're trying to find a phone place so I can get my phone fixed because it's still not charging. So I was like, okay. And so she said, I just want to thank you again. Thank you so much for helping me. I said, you're welcome. Then this nigga has the nerve to fix his raggedy ass lips to say,
Yes, yes. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. I'm gonna do better. I have to do better.
so I looked at him and I was like, yeah, because that's out. And then I turn back and I look at her and I ask her again how she's feeling and how she's doing. And so she says she's fine, whatever. She's getting ready to get out because, mind you, she had a flight to catch. So her flight was supposed to leave at about 4 in the afternoon that same day. And it's 10:30 a.m. So I'm like, okay, well, be safe. And so she's like, can we exchange numbers when I get my phone fixed? I'll hit you up. So I said, okay. So I give her my number and we part ways. So I'm just like, ugh, I was so hurt to see her with him because it's like, girl, why? And also, mind you, her phone was dead and broken. And so she sought after him. She went to his unit because he didn't know she was still there. Last he knew, she was escorted off the premises by the police. He had no idea she was still there because she came straight to my unit the night or that morning of. So my heart was just so broken. And she said, I couldn't find your unit. So I just left your blanket on your car. And so I wonder if that's why she went to his unit because she couldn't find mine, and again, this is a huge complex, so it's very easy to get lost in here. So I'm just like, damn. And to see her with him, I was just like, that's the cycle of abuse. That's what it looks like. So let's talk about what the cycle of abuse actually is. So Lenore Walker's cycle of abuse, created in 1979, provides four stages. So stage one is tension building. It's in her example, the couch. him kicking her out of the apartment, snatching the blanket off of her. The next one is explosion. So, explosion would be the example of the earring back. Pick it up, you know, um, houseway. Find the earring back. Another example is the honeymoon or the reconciliation stage, which is her missing her flight. Again, I can just imagine how that looked. Him being apologetic for his actions the night before and even throughout the trip. He may even acknowledge his actions that were displayed throughout her trip. Okay, so the next and final phase is the calm. Again, the missed flight. So that can couple in with the reconciliation and the honeymoon stage. Um, or another example of the honeymoon stage could be I have to do better. Like he was telling me, it's performative. Him painting this picture of this, I've messed up and I recognize my flaws and I must do better. Those are the stages of the cycle of abuse. After we exchange numbers, I send her a positive message and I say something along the lines of, remember who you are, you're worthy, God is going to always provide for you and protect you, or something like that. And she responded hours later. So obviously she had gotten her phone fixed or got a new phone, however. And she's like, "Thank you. I appreciate you. Oh, I missed my flight." So I'm like, I knew you were. And I just knew she was gonna miss her flight because again, it's the cycle of abuse and I know how that looks. And I can just imagine how he apologized for his actions and he was so sincere and he loves her and it'll never happen again, and just reeling her back into his web of lies, his web of control and web of abuse, and her falling for it. And let's just have this one more day together. I don't want you to leave on the terms that we left on. And he's charming her and wooing her, and it feels good in the moment. Love bombing, it feels good in the moment, and her falling for it, which then led to her missing her flight. So I know to some of y'all, it's like, girl, you crazy. Ain't no way I let a stranger in my house at 2 o'clock in the morning. And yes, it was crazy. Especially in this day and age, considering there's so many scams and schemes going on with sexual assault and sex trafficking and things, human trafficking and stuff like that. However, I know I am divinely protected and I do listen to my gut 95% of the time. I do listen to my intuition, and I knew that she was a woman in need. I've been there before from my ex in North Carolina, the one who put the gun to my back that I talk about in the top of this series. And I remember calling my big sister and asking her to help me in moments of need, just like that, getting kicked out in the wee hours of the morning by my ex. I just empathized with her and everything that she was dealing with at the time. And I wanted to provide her with the needs that I could meet. So if you find yourself in a position such as this, believe the victim the first time. Don't ask a whole bunch of unnecessary questions. You do want to know kind of what's going on just so you can gauge how to approach the situation, how to assist. You don't want to be pushy in a sense of telling them to leave, like, oh, you have to leave, you must leave. That's not helpful. Or even asking them why they won't leave. That's not helpful either. And even just with the girl as an example, as I mentioned, her phone was dead, it was broken. She sought after her abuser, her boyfriend. She went back to his apartment. I don't know when. She may have never slept in the car. She may have gone straight there after I walked away. Who knows? But at some point, she went to his apartment, and it's it's again the cycle of abuse. In her case, he was her safe zone. She didn't know me, and as she mentioned, she couldn't remember how to get back to my unit, and that's valid. That's valid. It's amazing here. So I'm sure she did probably get lost trying to get back to my unit. But to know that she went back to her safe haven, in her mind, that's what she did. That's where she felt safe. Also, as an outsider, no, you can't fix everything. Show up how you can, meet them where they are. In my case, it was a parking spot, a blanket, a phone charger, bringing her into my place in the wee hours of the morning. Those were the small things that I could provide. You also want to provide resources to the person that you may be witnessing these things from. So again, it's abuse by proxy, right? It's not you specifically being abused, but you being abused through someone else's abuse. This is why I created my Escape and Rebuild Kit as a tool to help victims and even survivors navigate through healing, financial stability, independence, and growth, amongst other things. There are also resources in the kit, as well as journal prompts and journal entries. It's interactive for you to be able to journal your emotions and how you're feeling, things that you're experiencing throughout the day, how you're internalizing things, how you're coping. It includes a safety plan, how you've gotten to where you are, how to move forward and love on yourself again. So, if you'd like to get your copy, the link will be in the description. It's only $19.95. It is a digital copy, so you will get the digital download immediately after purchase. If you need help right now, contact the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 800-799-7233 or text START to 88788. There's no need to be in crisis to reach out. Now, if you have not subscribed yet, be sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell so you can know every time a new video drops. Now, I want to ask y'all, have you ever had a 2 a.m. kicked out the house moment or anything that coincides with any part of today's story? Comment below and let me know. In the meantime, know your worth and protect your peace. Until next time, it's your girl Kanisha Lorraine signing out.